My name is Josh Hawks. I'm the media buyer for Stoltz. As a media buyer, I get to take all the creative and cool stuff that we do and look at it through the eyes of the consumer, trying to figure out where the creative will show up in the market to meet the consumer where they are. And then really looking at things through their eyes and how they view the world. I get to use empathy. I get to walk a mile in other people's shoes to see how they're gonna view the world, but then also like what's gonna make them act and what channels might make them take action. Ultimately, like the short answer is I get to take the cool stuff that we all make here and put it out into the world, and it's pretty awesome to be able to do that. Typically I'm crafting like a narrative around whether campaigns are working, if they're not working, what's going on, how are we making them better, how are we fixing them, and really trying to keep that top of mind. I'll spend my day researching, reviewing trends and articles and things like that when I have the time. I also spend a lot of time kind of bigger thinking, looking at overall strategies for our individual clients, but also like how can we as Stoltz show up in the world? What's the new next big thing? It's gonna make our clients successful and it's gonna make our campaign successful. And then what have we done that's really worked that we can kind of help build upon? So really thinking about that big picture, how do we look not only today, but how do we look like in a year, 2 years, 5 years? The impact to our clients can be a lot of different things. It's really contingent on what their ultimate objective is. Some clients want to be in the weeds and want to know, the very bottom of a sales funnel, so to speak, and are people actually clicking on their site or doing things like that. Other people just want to know how their brand is showing up in the world. Anecdotally, are people walking up to them and saying, hey, I saw your thing, it's really great. What we try to do in media is kind of blend the space between the tangible and intangible. Because marketing, specifically the paid media space, it's not always easy to just gauge how things are working by looking at the numbers. Like what we're really trying to do is ultimately we know that your campaign worked if you feel good about it, one, and if your business objectives are being met, like full stop. And if we aren't, we as your agency need to be thinking about what we can do to make those improvements and make those tweaks and actually do that, because our goal is to service you. When you ask me like what my favorite media channel is, there's so many in the world, but the one I always come back to, and it's seriously been my love since I very first started, but since I found media or media found me, is I love billboards. We call it out of home. I think it's such an interesting medium since people have been putting posters on walls, that has been a form of like out of home. And it has been around for so long, and it just works. And when people ask you, can you quantify that my billboard worked? There's not really we've gotten better with digital technology and to be able to track. I mean, we all have trackers in our pockets. We've gotten a little bit better about seeing, are we reaching our target audiences with billboards? But ultimately, all a billboard is something that shows up in your life, and you most of the time don't even know that it's there, but it's making some sort of impact. And when you do notice it, you get to immediately draw an opinion. If you like it, you know that you like it. And you have to know you like it within 8 seconds. It's all happening as you're going throughout your day-to-day life. I think it's our ultimate goal in media is to show up without you knowing that we're showing up, and billboards do a really great job of showing up without you even really knowing you're there. You can say, I saw a billboard, and I guarantee you probably won't remember where you saw it unless it's a brand really near and dear to your heart, but you will remember it because it was a part of your life. You don't know where, but you knew you saw it. If I had to pick one piece of tech that we use every day, I wouldn't, this is gonna sound like a pitch for them, but I wouldn't be nearly as successful as I have been if it wasn't for our buying platform and our partnership with Basis. Shout out to Laura, Juan, and Sean over there. What Basis does is it allows us to house all of our digital campaigns in one singular location. And then programmatic buying is, instead of having to buy directly from a vendor, so say if I wanted to place an ad on Peacock, instead of having to go directly to Peacock and buying that ad placement, I can not only go to Peacock, but I can also go to Paramount or Hulu or, there's so many vendors. There's 38 exchanges and all these different places. I can bid in auctions based on who my target audience is to show up on various content programming. This is just an example. But it allows me to do that using AI technology and algorithm so that I don't have to manually go contact the vendor and be able to work with the vendor directly in a one-to-one relationship. What it ultimately does is makes our job more efficient so we can do a better job for our clients to be able to show up in the world faster, easier, more efficiently. We also are able to control a lot more. We can control our margins, meaning like we can control how their spend is. We can control in terms of brand safety, where their brand shows up. Say you're a education client and maybe you don't want to show up in R-rated content. We can actually stop that from happening. There's a lot of things we can do. We can delineate which apps we want to be on. It just allows us to show up in a lot more places easier and better, which makes things more efficient, actually ends up being more cost effective than if you were to place directly. If you want to start running a campaign, media campaign, first of all, generally having an idea of what goals you're trying to meet and who you think you're trying to talk to. Yeah, a lot of times I think people will find it like to be a little bit scary when they talk about paid media, because we in advertising have just filled the space with like so much jargon and bullshit, to be honest. We've made things very convoluted and confusing, and part of it is because we did everything traditionally for a very long time. You could get broadcast TV, you could be on billboards like I mentioned, you could be on the radio, whatever. And then we introduced this digital technology, and we're really building the plane as we flew it. And then we also love a good acronym. We love a $2 word when a dime word will do type situation. And I think for a lot of times for clients, it's very daunting. And you feel less than when you come in and you don't feel like you're prepared. Every media campaign is a living, breathing thing, and it needs to be nurtured and it needs to be constantly finessed. And the way that a campaign will start is rarely ever the way that it ends. Because there literally is like not a one size fits all, set it and forget it. We come with our best ideas and we try to give you the best possible result that we see at the onset. The longer campaign is, the more chances there are for us to tinker and tweak. And what we're ultimately doing is making sure that you are getting the best possible product. And if we were to just set it and forget it and leave it alone, you wouldn't get the best possible product. And if anybody tells you that they can do it that way, they can't. You can't be successful that way. You have to have dedication, and it requires not only dedication, but just that gumption to want to learn and want to make things better.